Okay, so in this video I'm just going to cover off the gear that I would take along to the Bicycle Network's Great Victorian Bike Ride. Now the Bicycle Network recommend taking two bags, one a bag for your camping gear and another bag for your personal effects and clothing. So I'm going to go through both of these bags. And in the camping bag, the first item is the bedroll. Now this is a standard bedroll, camping bedroll. You roll it out, blow it up with a bit of air, and that acts as an insulating layer between you and the ground, between your sleeping bag and the ground. Just keeps you warmer at night. So that's quite important item. We'll cover that item off a little bit later on. So the next item is the sleeping bag. Now the sleeping bag, look, I've got a personal preference towards the duck down, goose down sleeping bags. They compact down nice and tight, and they're really warm, a lot more warmer than the weight to weight than the synthetic bags. The only problem with them is that if they do get wet, they're a lot colder, so it's really important to keep them fairly dry. Now outside the sleeping bag, there's a dual purpose with the bag that you use for a sleeping bag. I use it as a pillow. So this bag here that the sleeping bag's in, I'll put my clothing into it at night. I'll put a t-shirt over the top of it, and that acts as my pillow. And the reason why I use a t-shirt over the top of it is just to help. You know, I don't want to be sleeping against the nylon. I just want to sleep against cotton like I normally do. So just put a t-shirt over the top of it, and that just makes it nice and comfortable for me. So that's the sleeping bag. And last item out of this bag, and just a tent. Now these compress down. This is a standard camping tent, nylon. It's got a tent fly and then the actual tent inner. And the reason for that is that the tent fly, the water, if it's raining, it will hit the tent fly, and then it'll just run off, and it keeps the tent itself nice and dry. So it's a standard tent, and they assemble really easily. Good idea to set them up before you go, so you kind of understand how they will work if you're new to them. If not, there's usually plenty of people that can help you there anyway. So that's the tent. All right. So then just a bit of my camping gear. Now the first item here is it's just a face cloth, and I actually use this just to clean up my dishes after I finish with them at night and in the morning. So just a little face cloth. It's just a sports cloth. You know, toothpaste, detergent. Now the detergent dual purpose for this as well. I use this to clean my washing at night, and also I use it to clean up my dishes at night and in the morning as well. So detergent. Sunscreen, that's really important obviously. You're out in the sun all day. Just remember your sunscreen, 30 plus. Underarm deodorant, very important. Toothbrush. Shampoo. Headlight. Now this is just a little headlight. I like taking this away when I'm camping. If I need to go to the toilet at night, I can see around the campsite. Use it for when I'm reading at night as well. So headlight. A spork. Now you don't have to go for one of these. You can just normal cutlery set. I like the spork. It's got a fork and a knife and a spoon all in one. It just makes it nice and easy and light. Pawpaw ointment. Now I use this down under. It just helps reduce the chance of rash, and I put it on in the morning before I go out for a ride. Pawpaw ointment, it's great. It's really good. It's actually quite good for putting on grazers as well if you do fall off your bike. Pawpaw ointment. All right. Shaving cream for the guys. Now I don't think I've got my razor in here, but need the razor as well. All right. Cup and toilet paper. All right. plate, all right. Not planning on eating a lot of food, just a little plate. Soap. And earplugs. Now, I always take earplugs away with me when I travel, and the reason for that's pretty obvious. It just helps reduce the amount of ambient noise around at night, and it just helps me sleep better. So I always put them in. And you'll be in a camping environment, so you know you might be sleeping next to somebody that's a little bit more noisier. Great for people that are snoring next to you. I find that these work a treat. So earplugs are really good. Okay. So the next one is just a general bag, and in this side here I've got a couple of drink bottles. All right. Now it's really important to make sure that these are full of water before you go on your ride in the morning. All right, so drink bottles, and then I've got a little bag here just with my my in-ride food. So I've got a few gels and sports bars and those sort of things. So just there. Now on this side I've got my cycling shoes. Now if you're just riding in your ordinary shoes, then you obviously will just be taking them. If you are taking your cycling shoes, do remember to check that you've actually got them. It's amazing how many times I run events and people have forgotten their cycling shoes, and cycling shoes are a real issue if you do forget them because they're very personal. Generally you've got your own specific cleat that you want to put on them. Positioning is really important to that. These ones here, my ones have inserts in them, and just a tip, when I'm flying on an aeroplane I always make sure that my cycling shoes are in with my hand luggage, and the reason for that is that if my main luggage goes missing I've still got my hand luggage with me, and it means I don't lose my cycling shoes. So if I'm if I've got an event that I'm riding in that involves airplane travel, always make sure the cycling shoes go in my hand luggage. All right. So the other thing in the side pocket is sunglasses, in a fairly hard case to help protect them. I've got two lenses. I've got the glasses themselves with a fairly light tinted lens, and then another lens a bit darker for the more sunnier days, and just a little bit of just a lens cloth, just to clean them up. Again, hard case. All right, so that's it. And then we'll get into the clothing now. When I go away on cycling trips, I always seem to be taking more cycle clothing than I do normal clothing, but it's just the way it sort of pans out. So the first thing is helmet. Now, try not to forget your helmet, but the good thing about helmets is you usually pick up one, from a bike shop. Make sure that it's got a safety sticker in it, the Australian standard safety sticker in it. Those are the only ones that are legal in Australia and New Zealand. You can't ride on the road without one, so it's very important that you do have a helmet with you. All right, so take that along. And then the clothing, all right. So most of this clothing that I'll be taking, because I'll be obviously wearing clothing, so I'll be taking that clothing with me, and I'll have that clothing obviously on when I'm wearing, my casual clothing after the event. But when I'm riding, there's a whole lot of cycling clothing that I take along. The first thing that's really important is the base layer. All right, so this is just a standard cycling base layer. It's made out of fairly light material. It's designed to wick away sweat. And it also acts, and I always ride, no matter how hot it is, I always ride with one of these because it acts as a barrier between you and the road. So if you do fall off your bike and you get grazed, this just helps reduce the amount of friction between you and the road, because you just kind of slide between this and the jersey and the road. So it just has a little bit of protection, so it's a bit of a safety device as well. Now there's two types. There's this one here that I wear on the hotter days. But if it's below about 16 degrees, then I will wear the merino wool base layer. Now, I'm a big fan of merino wool. It's a great fabric, and one of the reasons why I really love it is that it doesn't get smelly when you wear it a few times. So it's really good when you go away on trips, and I usually take two of these, so there's two in this bag. All right, and you can wear these on the bike, and then you can wear them as a t-shirt casually after the event. So dual purpose garment, and great merino wool, so good stuff. Now nicks. So I would take two nicks along with me. cycling shorts. Okay, so these are the standard cycling shorts. There's a couple of versions of these. You can go for just the standard shorts with no bib on them. I prefer the bibs, they're a little bit more comfortable. And they have a chamois on the inside for those that are uninitiated with cycling shorts. They've got an insert now. We call it a chamois, but it's not actually made out of chamois. They used to be made out of chamois, but now they're made out of synthetic material. So they've got this padding in there. It just helps reduce the chance of chafing. So they're really good. And you know, I use them in conjunction with my pawpaw ointment, and that just helps reduce any issues down under. All right. Now you don't wear these with underpants. All right. So you go commando in these, and there's also just standard sort of casual sort of cycling shorts as well that you can buy. They've got a chamois insert again. Don't wear underpants with them, and they're a little bit more casual, so you can actually step off the bike and sort of wander around, and they've got a short with an insert in them. So so that's cycling nicks. Now the other thing about cycling nicks is I take 2 if not 3, so there's 2 in here at the moment. And the reason why I would take more than 1 pair is because you want to change them every day. You want to make sure to reduce the chance of you know, infection and that sort of thing. You make sure that these are replaced, you know, like a clean pair every morning, all right, before you go on your ride. So one's being worn while the other one's drying. Okay. So that's cycling nicks. Now cycling jerseys. So there's a couple of types of cycling jerseys I take along. There's a standard cycling jersey. Now these are a lightweight fabric designed to wick away sweat from you, and they've got the pockets in the back. I like the ones with the full length zip in them for the really hot days, so you can zip it right down, zip it back up again. Alright, short sleeve, so I've got 2 of those, 1, 2, okay. And then I've got a long sleeve for days when it's a bit wet or quite cold. Then I'd go for the long sleeve jersey. Now these long sleeve jerseys, same thing, full length zip in them, and pockets at the back, alright, for all your cycling stuff. And this one here is the standard sort of winter weight long sleeve jersey, so it's got a fleecy lining to it. So instead of being the thinner material, it's got a more of a fleecy sort of warmer thermal sort of layer to it, so quite nice and warm. Now for the cooler mornings I wear a wind vest. Okay, so the thing is that cycling clothing is designed to have the wind rush through it and wick away your sweat, but on the cooler days that's going to actually cool you down too quickly and you're going to get quite cold. So the wind vest is just a sleeveless vest. It's got a nylon front on it. It's usually vented at the back. This has got a sort of a vented fabric on it. Full length zip again, all the way through. And these are great. So the great thing about these is that they're small. You can, when you don't need them, you can put them in your pocket. And the other thing about these is that when you're climbing up hills, you can zip them down when you're getting a bit hot, and when you're going down hills, when it's quite cold, when you can get quite cool, you just zip them up again. So that's a cycling vest. You know, the other thing I've got in here is a cycling raincoat. Now, if you just wanted to take one, then I would take the cycling raincoat. And this is just a standard cycling raincoat. Again, dual purpose. You can wear it on the bike and off the bike, so you can wear it as casual gear if it's raining a little bit. I usually take both, but you know, if you wanted to take just one, then the raincoat would be the choice. All right, because that's going to be a lot more protective. And this is just the standard cycling type jacket. Usually they're a little bit longer at the back to cover your behind a little bit. Full length zip, and this one's shower proof, waterproof, and also acts as a wind vest type. So that's really good. Cycling cap. Now, a cycling cap I wear when it's really cold, and I also wear when it's really hot. And the reason for that is that when it's really cold, it just acts as an insulating layer, and I wear it underneath my helmet. When it's really hot, there's 2 reasons why I wear it. The first one is to help prevent sunburn, because obviously helmets these days have got holes in them. So that just helps stopping my head from getting really badly sunburnt. And the other thing is that it helps wick away the sweat. So instead of sweat running down, into my eyes and stuff, I would wear this, and that just wicks it away, and it actually drops off the peak of the cap, which is great, and it just drips off the front of it away from my face. So they're really good. And look, you can wear them after the event to keep your head from getting sunburnt after the event as well. All right. So cycling gloves. Now again, cycling gloves, two purposes to these. I never go riding without them. They're a very important item of clothing that I like to wear. And the two reasons for that is, the first is that they protect you. If you fall off your bike, it saves you from scratching up your hands. And the other thing is that they usually have a little bit of padding in them, and that just reduces the amount of fatigue that you're going to get through your hands on the longer rides. So those are cycling gloves. And they also actually stop your hands from getting sunburn as well. So those are the cycling gloves. All right. Now cycling socks. Now cycling socks are a little bit different to normal socks, and the reason for that is that one is that, again, they're made out of fabric that wicks away sweat and is quite aerated. So they're cooler on hot days. Now the other thing about cycling socks is that they're quite thin, and the reason for that is that you're pushing through the pedal from the shoe into the pedal. So it's just really important to get something that's quite thin, so you're not losing energy while you're doing that. Thick socks, you lose a little bit of energy pushing through them. It's not like running where you need that padding. Cycling socks, you just want to have a little bit more on the pedal than running shoes. All right. So those are cycling socks, and obviously you can wear them around the campsite afterwards. So take a couple of pairs. Now arm warmers and leg warmers. I never leave home without arm warmers and leg warmers when I go away. Arm warmers are great. You wear them with the summer jersey. When it gets hot, you just roll them down your sleeve. When it gets colder, you just roll them back up again. They're great. If you finish with them for the day, you just roll them up, and I just roll them up like this. Just roll them up like that. All right, and then they just go in my back pocket. All right. Same goes for leg warmers. All right, great first thing in the morning. Keep your knees warm. All right, they've got little zips at the bottom of them. These ones here, little zips at the bottom. Always important to undo the zips before you try and take them off, because you never get that off without undoing your zip. All right. Leg warmers, again, same thing. When you finish with them, just roll them up, and you just put them in your back pocket. All right. So now, I would also take along booties. Now I wear these. If you're not wearing cycling shoes, then these aren't as important. In fact, you won't need them at all. But if you are wearing cycling shoes are historically vented these days, so they get really cold when it's quite cold. So I would wear booties when it drops below 10 degrees. I'd bring up my booties, and that's what I would wear. So booties over the cycling shoes, and also long finger gloves. All right, and both of these garments are made out of a windstopper material, so that just helps. Acts like the wind vest, so reduces the chance of wind chill. All right. So then we come to more of my personal items. So I've got a cap here now, just a standard cap, and you can make a choice on whether you want that or this. You can take both. I usually take both, but you can wear a cycling cap all the time. Just when you're around the camp, just protects your head from being sunburnt, shades your eyes, obviously, on the hotter days. Just a pair of merino wool socks. Now I would take these on the colder nights to sleep with, but the great thing about these is merino wool. You can wear them and they don't smell up. You can wash them every couple of days instead of every day. So they're a really good item. Underwear, really important. All right, so I've got 3 pairs here. And then I've just got a merino wool top, all right? And just if it's quite cold at night, I'd put this on. That'll also go into my sleeping bag liner, the sleeping bag cover, and I'll sleep. That'll act as act as a pillow, all right? So I'll sleep on that. All right. So that covers off most of the clothing that I would take. Now, obviously, you know, you've got your own personal preferences around clothing that you would want to take. So, you know, that's what I would take. All right. Now I've got a couple more items in the bag. First thing is this. Now this is a sports towel. So I would use this instead of a standard bath towel. It just packs up quite neatly, and it's fairly long, and there's a reason for that. I actually use this quite a lot when I'm out racing and I want to change on the side of the road after the race. So it means I can just wrap it around myself. I've got a little bit of privacy, and you know, I can get changed without embarrassing myself or people around me. So not to say that you're going to be doing that, but the reason why you would take this along with you is that, you know, use it as a bath towel when you have your shower in the morning, all right, or in the evening. Okay. So the other thing I've got here, I've got a little backpack. All right. Now I actually like to take a little backpack away with me when I'm travelling, and the reason for that is that it gives me the opportunity to be able to do, you know, day trips and stuff like that, or trip, you know, down to the local shop or whatever. And I've got a little backpack instead of taking all this stuff with me, so I can just isolate a bit of gear with me. Little backpack. Okay. So inside the backpack, just a couple more items. I've got in here. I've got my mobile phone. Now, the mobile phone here, it's in a plastic bag. That's really important. When you're out riding, I always put my mobile phone in a little plastic bag like that, and that stops the phone from getting drenched in sweat, because when you're riding, sometimes you get a bit sweaty, so it just protects it from the sweat. And it also, when it rains, it obviously protects it from getting wet. Okay, and electronic equipment doesn't like getting wet, so it's a little plastic bag. You just put it in there and seal it up, and that means it's nice and waterproof. All right. So, and look, if it is raining, I actually put it up that way, so the water doesn't run into the top of it if it does run in. So that's quite sealed. It's quite sealed. Okay. Now inside here, I also got a couple of other things that I always take with me when I go for a ride. A little bit of coffee money, so that's really important. And the other thing is just a little bit of an ID tag, so it's just got my name on it, contact phone number in emergencies. And in my mobile phone, I've got my ICE contact details. So in there is a contact called ICE, and that's got my wife's telephone number in, so in case I can't talk and I'm on the side of the road, fallen off my bike or had an accident, then the ICE number, which I've mentioned in another video, is very important. So make sure when you've got a mobile phone, you've got an ICE number in there in case of emergencies. That's what ICE stands for. All right, so great. So it's a mobile phone, and the great thing about this is it also acts as a video and a camera. So you know, you don't have to take a separate cam with you. Now, wallet. Now that's really important. And look, if you have forgotten some stuff, I like to take my credit card. Credit cards are great. All right, they're really good. And they obviously, if you need to buy anything, you can use your credit card. I usually like to clean out my wallet. So I've got a whole lot of crazy cards in here at the moment, flybys and air flying cards and things. So I usually take those out, just have the bare minimum in there, a little bit of cash, and the arbitrary, photo of the wife, your kids, puppy dog, those sort of things. So that's the wallet. Now, I've got a little bag here with my electronic equipment in it. I'll try and keep this to a minimum. If you're going to be taking a mobile phone, then there's a couple of things that you can take along with you. One of the first most important things is the charger. Don't leave home without it. If you're going to take your phone, make sure you take your charger. All right. Some of the phones have particular special chargers, and sometimes you may not find a person, if you do forget it, that's with a charger. So that's the first thing. Earphones. Now, I never ride with earphones in. I use these off the bike, so I never ride with earphones. I don't think it's very safe to do so. I know there's some people out there that like to ride with earphones, but personally, I think that's a bad idea. But I use that. I've got some music on my phone, so I can use that as a bit of entertainment. I've got some videos and stuff there. I can watch those and things in the evenings. All right, and just around charging, when you get to the end of when you get to the campsite, there is facilities to be able to charge your electronic devices. It's usually a gold coin donation, so bear that in mind. Now, bike computer, all right, so Garmin, you get about 3 days out of these before you need to charge them. So it's important if you do take that, make sure you take your USB charger, all right? The USB charger, which, so you need the cable. And I'll take a specific, so that's my iPhone charger, and I'll take a USB charger as well. That means I can plug both of them in, charge both devices, means I don't have to wait for one to charge and then the other to charge. I can charge both at the same time, all right? And this one's actually, I managed to get this one, it's quite a light one, it's a very small USB charger, so, not a lot of weight, it doesn't take up too much room. If I'm going to be taking my bike computer, then I'll take my heart rate monitor strap, all right? So don't forget that. Otherwise, you might as well not take your heart rate monitor, all right? Now, the other thing I've got here, if you are going to take a camera, a little sports camera, nice little small one. Generally, your phone's usually pretty good these days. If you do take your camera, then make sure that you take the appropriate charger as well. So, take your camera, you got to take your charger. So just remember that, because you get 3 days out of your phone, and then you've got to charge it up. And if you don't take your charger, well, it just becomes something that's pretty useless after 3 days. So that really covers off some of the bare things that I would take with me. Look, I know that everybody's has their own personal tastes around what sort of gear they would take. That's the sort of gear that I would take away for the Great Victorian Bike Ride. So I hope that's been useful, and I hope you have a great time. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the bike. Now, this is my bike. This is the bike that I ride, and I just wanted to cover off some of the important things to consider when you're going onto an event. So the first most important thing is that you want to get your bike checked out by your local bike shop, a couple of weeks beforehand, and just make sure that it's all running nice. Brake blocks are good, brakes are good, tyres are very important. Very important to make sure that your tyres are really good quality. I generally like to replace my tyres a couple of weeks before a big event. And that way, and also check them before I go, make sure that we haven't got any bad cuts in them or anything. If you've got a bad cut in your tyre, it's always a bad omen, and it's important to get that replaced. So if there's a cut in your tyre and it's cut all the way through, and you can see the inner tube, then you should replace it. All right, it's just going to cause you lots and lots of issues. You'll get multiple punctures, and the last thing you want to do is get punctured. It's going to destroy the enjoyment of the event. So if you have a major mechanical of your bike, or you get lots of punches because your tyres are worn out, look, that's just going to dull the amount of enjoyment you're going to get. So you don't have to don't have to have those issues. Good quality tyres that aren't worn, and just a well-serviced bike. So look, I always carry 2 drink bottles with me, and it's really important to make sure that those are full before you leave in the morning. Make sure your bike's obviously set up, and I've talked a little bit about that in previous videos. Now, there's 2 important things that I always take with me on a ride. The first is a bicycle pump, all right, and this is just a little pump. This is designed for road bikes. This is designed to produce high pressure. It's got a thin barrel, all right. So now you get pumps with big, thick barrels, and they're designed for mountain bikes where you need a lot of air to be put into the tyre, but lower pressures. So there's 2 types of pumps out there. Pumps with a thinner barrel, they're for road bikes, and pumps with a thicker barrel, and they're for the sort of mountain bike type or hybrid tyres, all right? So that's the first thing. The next thing is always take a spare inner tube with me, and you want to take those with you on the ride. So I've just got a very lightweight spare inner tube in here, and a couple of tyre levers. All right, so just make sure that you do understand before you go how to replace your inner tube. So that's just a little bag, and it just sits in there. Very easy to get to, and there it is. Just straps on like that. All right, so nice and easy. Some people take tools with them. Generally, if your bike's well serviced, you won't really need tools with you, and there's usually, you know, support on the road anyway. But some people, you know, they like to take tools, and there's no problem with that. Always have a rear light. Sometimes you're riding through fog in the morning and that sort of thing, so it just helps with visibility. I've got a front light on this as well. Most of the time you're riding during the day, so you probably won't need a front light, but I've got one on this bike. And that really covers it off for the bike. Now, the other thing I wanted to go into was pedals, and I'm just going to cover that off in the next section. So the other thing I wanted to cover off is pedals, and this is my wife's bike. She rides a nice Giant, again 2 drink bottles, rear light. She's got a little bag here with her inner tube in it. You know, well serviced, good tyres. So pretty much the same sort of setup. Now, with removing your pedals, and you'll need to do this when you're getting your bike transported. The pedal's always at the top, the crank at the top. The pedals always undo towards the back of the bike. All right. So in this particular case, they just undo that way. So that's how you undo the pedal. All right. Now. And it's the same for the other side, all right? So again, there's the crank, all right? Put the pedal spanner in, and it just undoes that way. Now, I generally, when I tighten these up, they just come off just normally. When I tighten them up, just make sure they don't. I tighten them up firmly, but not really, you don't need to tighten them up super tight. Some people get a bit enthusiastic with tightening up their pedals. I just make sure that they're fairly firm, but not super tight. And the other thing to remember is that there's a left and a right hand pedal, all right? So the thread's different, left and right hand pedal. So usually on the pedals themselves, they've got little markings on them, left and L for left and R for right. So if you find that the pedal is not going in to the crank very well, just check that you've got the right pedal, that you're putting the right pedal on the right side of the bike and the left pedal on the left side of the bike. If you try and force it in, you'll strip the thread, and then you'll need to get your cranks replaced. So, and that's very expensive. So just remember that the pedals, they have left and right thread, and that they undo that way, all right, towards the back of the bike, and to tighten them up, you bring them towards the front of the bike, okay? So that's how they work. And that's really it.